So there's a movie with a group of highway patrol officers who hate their job and they hate the local police department nearby them. They like doing drugs a little bit, and one of them has a costume that makes it look like he's a guy having sex with a bear. Do I have your attention yet? Hey everybody, welcome to the remastering of my second ever full review, taking on a movie that is, in my opinion, one of the funniest comedies since the turn of the century. Super Troopers in a nutshell is a movie about a small station of highway patrol officers and the shenanigans they do on a daily basis to make their jobs less agonizing. It's also got a bit of story woven in with it all, but in a lot of ways that seems to just be there to progress the characters through all their shenanigans to an eventual climax. The characters' interactions with each other, the people they pull over, and their rival local police officers serve as the main drivers and shenanigans of this movie.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
And even with the premise based so heavily on just character interaction, it works. It works really well even. Well enough that even though the plot isn't overly engaging, the characters are all funny enough that it's easy to keep your interest. As long as you're not so burned out from laughing your cheeks to soreness during the first 10 minutes of the film, because that really is a thing. We'll hit on that later though. For now, let's dive into the story of this. Like I said before, the story for Super Troopers isn't deep by any means. The film's strength and focus is its characters. But while we're getting to know them early on, they establish that the highway patrol office that employs our protagonist is in danger of being shut down due to budget cuts. Because of this, in order to save their jobs, the officers will probably have to cut back on their silliness. Cut back on their silliness.
You mean shenanigans?
Oh. We also are introduced to a potential murder mystery which reveals a drug smuggling ring that the highway patrolmen are trying to solve before their local police department rivals. More than anything though, this movie is kind of a mixture of a themed series of comedy sketches that evolves and develops into a plot throughout. In other words, while there is a plot present, it largely just takes a backseat to different sketches throughout the film. Still, with the looming threat of the highway patrol office being shut down and the chance to earn favor from the people making those decisions by making a major drug bust, the story of Super Troopers is pretty much your classic story of, this thing we love is going to be taken away from us unless we do something crazy and amazing to save it. This is what drives the movie, as the characters are all pretty solidly defined. You have Thorny, who is the leader of the group and really represents the overall collective disinterest in taking their job seriously. Mac is the guy that's always pushing everyone's comfort level and cranking the irreverence up a notch. He's a wild card who's the steady bad influence in all the funniest ways. Foster is the lazy pacifist, and he's got the hots for Ursula, who's the female officer working for the highway patrol's heated rivals, the local police department. Foster's primary motivation is pretty much driven by whatever he can do to get Ursula's attention. Rabbit is the stupid rookie, who seems to be largely molded by the influence of Thorny and Mac, with his own little flair of recklessness thrown in. Then there's Farva, who's the big, weird, and everybody's business guy that nobody likes. He wants to fit in with everyone, but he also has this idea that he's always going to be the biggest badass in the room and that nobody will disrespect him. At times, his character might seem a tiny bit over the top, but really, I feel like everybody has known someone like this growing up, which makes his character so great. On an individual basis, they might not be the most unique characters or even close to it at times, but what makes them great is how they all mesh together collectively. They stay consistent with what little we get to know about them throughout, while also using those aspects about their characters to bring humor to each scene. And adding to it, you have a handful of supporting characters in the local police officers, Captain O'Hagan, and whoever else comes and goes throughout the film. Maybe more than anything, this movie will make your cheeks sore from laughter, which is exactly what you want from an off-the-wall comedy. The main characters feel real and they interact well with each other and the others around them. It's a good blend of mixing slapstick and mildly off-the-wall humor with fairly realistic characters. One thing I've heard so much about Super Troopers is that people are rolling on the floor with riotous laughter during the first 10 to 15 minutes, but that they were bored for the rest of the movie. And you know what? When I first saw it, I was in that same boat. I laughed my ass off at the first scene and then was burned out from it. So to anyone out there who gave this movie that kind of label, I totally understand. I attribute this entirely to the funny fuse theory. The first time seeing it, you've laughed until your cheeks are sore from the first 15 minutes, basically exhausting your sense of humor in many ways. It's almost like you've laughed hard enough that you need a refractory period before you can laugh anymore. However, if you kept that label placed on the movie instead of rewatching a time or two to enjoy the film that comes after the hilarity of its opening, you've done yourself a great disservice because the rest of the movie really keeps up that level of hilarity that is established early early on. As rare as it is to blow a funny fuse for a movie, Super Troopers is also stellar in the area of quotability. One of the best in my opinion. Pretty much every character chips in a quality quote or 5, and almost everything that Farva says is solid gold. A lot of the same goes for Thorny's character too, and all of it is enhanced by the quality of the characters and how they interact with each other throughout. This movie doesn't have much as far as music is concerned. The music of the opening credits is a nice fit to get things started, and the German techno music is a great accompaniment for that whole scene. On the visual and art side, there's nothing uniquely artistic about this, just great conversational banter between characters. Comedies can be a tough genre. You've got your super off-the-wall styles of humor, your more realistic kinds of comedies like the Apatow flicks of recent years, and in rare cases, you have realistic-feeling characters acting just zany enough to be hilarious. This is one of those cases of characters that feel real just in situations that only seem a little bit out there, but it works. I do think that there are parts where they seem to struggle with actually advancing the plot outside of a humorous situation, or even just reached a tiny bit with things. The scene at the baseball game, for example, feels a little odd and out of place, and a couple other bits in there, while funny, felt a little forced. The movie does hit a small lull or two in spots, but they're rare and heavily overshadowed by the rest of the humor to be had in it all. I know that I'm not alone in labeling this movie as a modern classic, and if you want evidence that other people feel that way, just look at the recent crowdfunding effort that took place for Super Troopers 2, where they reached their goal of $2 million raised in less than a day. I think for a lot of people, getting past that burnout from the hilarity of the opening scene is almost necessary for the rest of the movie to grow on you, because the rest of the movie is really great and really quotable. And it gets that much more impressive when you consider that this was a handful of indie filmmakers still relatively early in their careers. So if you have an appreciation for that older style, kind of slapstick style humor, Super Troopers is right up your alley. So with all that said, I give Super Troopers a 9 out of 10. So that's it for this remastered review. If you made it this far in, thank you for sticking out. If you like this video, please click the like button below. If you have any comments on the movie Super Troopers or on this review, please hit up the comments below. Subscribe if you want more reviews like this one. And again, everybody, thank you for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the text above where it says subscribe, and the annotation will take you right there to do it. And below that are links to a couple other videos I've done, both of which I think you'll probably enjoy. Check them out.